not being a member of the committee, but the council will have to vote on this recommendation in the end. Is the vote, or is the charge of the committee to approve a reorganization or to, of the mayor's office with regard to shifting these duties, as well as to recommend the appointment of Mr. McLachlan to the position of Economic Development Director? And the reason I ask is because, in all candor, and not to shed legislative authority or powers here, that is it ultimately the mayor's decision is how he structures his internal staff and shifts hours around. We can't dictate that. The council can't dictate that. Maybe by charter we could, if the charter was changed. Or
appropriation.
Or through the purse strings, through money. But not the way you would shift around your internal office. And if this is approved, and exactly what Mr. Curran said, is based on the individuals that are here, they work together well, gel together well, have experience that overlaps and cross-pollinates well. However, are we approving this as a reorganization and as a position going forward, notwithstanding the individuals, or is this a very limited review for this specific situation? That's what I'm trying to understand.
It's a limited review for this specific situation. As I say, I got a full-time job working for a bank or just whatever. Then I'd probably come back and say, let's say we do the budget in May, we fund it at halftime. I may come back and say, look, I don't have that individual anymore to do the same workload and fill that learning curve and to attract a quality individual like Mike or Wayne, I need to have a full-time position there. And I'd come back for another appropriation, not a contingency or something like that. Your vote would simply be on the appointment. Les and I looked carefully at how the budget was crafted, and it's sort of unclear, is this an office, you know, to be frank with you, is this an office that works under the aegis of the mayor, or is it a department created by the council? So I took the more conservative route and brought it to the council, you know, and said, look, we should talk about this. We should have transparency here. If people have questions, they should have an answer. That's why I'm here. So.
Just wanted to say, so ultimately, really, from the standpoint of the council voting on it, it's sort of an opinion or, you know, a stamp of approval of what the reorganization would be. It's not any way binding on the mayor. And then
I just want to emphasize again, I could come back.
Subject to change.
Right, in August, again, if Mike were to leave, or you know, we have to make some adjustments and say, look, I got to expand this back to full time. You know, we're not going to find another individual that can work with that.
My opinion is that this really is, it's the mayor's prerogative to appoint these positions, to structure the office the way he wishes to structure them. And that it really ultimately, and maybe from a more liberal view of this, it's really an opinion of the council as opposed to a requirement of approval. But that being said, as the mayor said, he's presented it as an opportunity to answer questions and to express at least our opinions. And with that, Mike is a very good organizer. I worked with him with the Special Olympics, actually kind of worked for him as a volunteer with the Special Olympics. There is a cost savings here, and several of the questions that myself and some council members have put to the mayor's office have been answered tonight. The structuring of the monies, the accountability of the hours. My assumption initially was it's a 15-hour quasi-salary. You're paid by the hour, but you're going to get a minimum of 15 hours pay. Actual hours works or actual hours paid for. That addresses a concern in a timesheet you could
up to 15.
Up to 15. I understand that. I don't have the concerns of labor laws. I understand that situation there. And the opinion that was sought by Senator McLachlan, I think is well drafted, well reasoned, and states why this is not an actual conflict under our charter or ordinances, and that there's no inherent conflict with a municipal employee being employed or being an elected official. So I agree with that. Where I have concerns, and I think Mr. Rotello began those initially, is the issue of potential, as we discussed, not to beat a dead horse, the potential competing economic interests between municipalities that the senator represents with his well, for lack of a better word, Danbury hat on as a state senator. I think some of the other situations, just a municipal employee being elected is not an inherent conflict. And I'm not saying that there is a legal conflict here. It is more the issue of a conflict with regard to the job description that an economic development director has. And I think Mr. Shepard or somebody said that, or the chairman said, if there is a potential conflict there, it would be shifted potentially over to Mr. Shepard. But that raises some of the very concerns that I still have. And some of the things that actually make it attractive to have an elected official as your economic development director when they represent multiple towns, some of the very same things that raise some concerns in my mind. I understand we're probably not going to compete with New Fairfield and Sherman based on their economic development policies. But Mr. Shepherd actually said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the things you did do was there was actually a business under your tutelage or your tenure that moved from Bethel to Danbury.
Yeah, he had already come. I didn't bring him here.
Okay.
He had come. He had issues when he got here, so I immediately went.
Okay. No, I mean, those still are, the last issue here was still my main concern in this. And again, I think it's more opinion of the council, and we have every right to express our opinions here. I certainly hope that there'd be adjustments made going forward. I do think that, and not to spend more money, but that a full-time economic development director without shifting and having multiple hands, and we're doing it at the state level too, people taking on other responsibilities, in the end is probably not the best way to go. So I don't have a vote on this, but I still have some of those concerns. I'll express them on the council floor as a whole.